Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we are playing with Aleph's Mono Green Mid-Range deck list. So essentially they sent me an idea that was saying like, hey, Endurance seems to be pretty good in the metagame right now. It's just like very, very good against Delver. And there's some other green mid-range cards like Elvish Reclaimer that can get out of Lightning Bolt range quickly. Can we turn this into a deck? And originally, in their first draft of this, it was a mono green deck list. And then they kind of conceded the point, like, okay, like maybe I need. Oh, this is nice alternate art. Maybe I need some removal of some kind, and they added Grist in. Now, Grist has an ability that, as long as it isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature token in addition to its other types, meaning that you can do things like reanimate it or bring it back with Green Sun Zenith. So essentially, what we've got going on here is that we are a mono green, sort of mid-rangey ramp deck list that looks to have some inevitability in terms of threats the format's just like not quite ready for. So for example, a shifting Ceratops is kind of a pain in the ass for a lot of decks. Like, it can't be countered, it can't be lightning bolted. It has protection from blue, and it can get reach, meaning that it can brick wall a Murktide turn after turn for a single mana. So that's all pretty neat. And Paradox Zone is kind of like the definition of inevitability. This got a little bit worse once Boseiju was printed, because some decks just have an additional main deck answer to it, and normally a 5-mana enchantment is pretty sticky. That tends to be out of range of things like Prismatic Ending, but now the Uro decks and some other random decks as well have access to Boseiju, or some of the blue decks like 8-cast have Otawara to bounce it as well, but it's still pretty reasonable. We are going to have a decent amount of mana in this deck list, and we're going to try to sink a lot of it into either Hex Drinker or Green Sun for a larger threat. There is a small Life from the Loam package in this deck list, as well as a very small Elvish Reclaimer set of tutor targets. I trimmed a lot of the tutor targets that were in the original deck list because I am just all about having solid mana, and I added in a few more fetch lands, and I think I added in the Nurturing Peatland as something that's like both able to go into the graveyard and is a source of card advantage later with Life from the Loam. There is one Yavimaya that is just barely off screen, by the way. I'm kind of begrudgingly playing a Maze of Ith. It's a really cool tutor target. I don't like the fact that this is a non-mana source in this deck unless I have that one of Yavimaya. But I think the ability to tutor that up, given that I effectively have like 8 copies of Elvish Reclaimer due to Green Sun, is probably worth it for holding off a Murktide for a little while or something like that. So essentially, we are a 22 land deck that also has 4 Ignoble Hierarchs and 4 Green Suns that can ramp us with Dryad Arbor. I think that's okay. So I have 3 Wastelands in the deck list that are colorless sources. Everything else produces green, minus the 1 basic swamp. There is a single mana source for a Leovold in here. I don't believe the original deck list kind of like caved and ran a blue source. They just wanted it as a Green Sun target. I'm going to run 1 Trop so we can at least hardcast that sometime. This is going to be a card that I'm going to board out a lot of the time, but it'll be pretty good as a like mid to end game Green Sun target versus a lot of decks. As far as the sideboard goes, I essentially redid the original sideboard. My thought was, this deck doesn't get to beat everything. Like, this is absolutely a for-funsy green mid-range deck list. Like, if you take a look at this, unless we're playing against a graveyard deck, we don't really have a lot of game versus combo in game 1. So I'm not going to be able to fully address that in the post-sideboard games. Instead, I've picked a handful of things that I want to get better against. I want to have Carpet of Flowers for the Delver and Blue mid-rangey matchups. I wanted to say fuck you, Kappa Cannoneer, and very consistently beat the 8-cast deck. And I wanted to have something for combo. The original deck had a lot of graveyard hate, and they wanted to double up on like Endurance and Fairies and Surgicals and that sort of stuff. I opted to play a Bojuka Bog as a Reclaimer target, and then just said, like, that's probably good enough. And then I'm going to respect some of my other matchups like Storm, or like Doomsday or Show and Tell, where I need to try to disrupt them and buy a little bit of time. Then I have just 2 more threats in the sideboard for times when I want to like board Leovold or Tarmogoyf out in the matchups where they're going to be awkward. My friend Roll has been trying. I should get this whole card on screen. Sorry about that. My friend Roll has been trying out Nissa, Who Shakes the World, in place of Paradox Zone in various green-based control decks in Legacy. So I wanted to give this one a go. In this deck list, whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional mana is like super relevant to help power up Hexdrinker and like fire off larger green suns. So I think that's kind of cool. A quick note on the Tarmogoyf here. This is a deck that's not super good at putting things, like various card types, into the graveyard, but this is something that's going to be really good against, say, like builds of Delver, where like in 2 or 3 turns, they're trying to turn on Delirium anyway. So I think this is an okay conclusion, even though I expect to board this out a decent amount of time. All right, that was kind of a long deck tech, so let's kind of hop directly into things. We are getting into spoiler season now. So like last thing I'll say here is if you have donation deck lists featuring new Capenna cards, like please submit those as you're ready for them. I will be prioritizing those highly once those cards are available on Magic Online. All right, let's battle. All right, I'll be keeping my opening hand here. I have no idea which one of my cards I'm going to play on turn 1. Same. I will get absolutely savaged by a Stifle if my opponent happens to be playing that. I can Wasteland my opponent and set them back and assume that I'll draw another land at some point. Or I can just, like, Dryad Arbor. But if I Dryad Arbor and just get Lightning Bolted here, it's not great. I really just want a lot of mana in play for Hexdrinkers if this game goes long. I'm gonna get Stifled if my opponent has it. Yeah, good. Going to get a basic land. Since I have 2 of these, I am just going to attempt this now. In the worlds where my opponent doesn't have Lightning Bolt, having this extra mana is really good for me. But I think they're going to have Lightning Bolt. Here it is. Yep. What are we looking at here? Okay, cool. So I think my plan for this game is just going to be get a lot of mana online, win with an unanswerable Hexdrinker. Alternatively, I can Wasteland my opponent into Oblivion, but that probably only happens if my opponent misses their land drop here. Hello! They are Brainstorm locked, and they don't have their second land. That is brutal. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this already has a big butt and is not lightning boltable. We're also doing a really good Elves impression. All right. So they pitched Expressive Iteration. I am going to need more land drops still. Like, I did not really want to wasteland my opponent, but, like, I absolutely cannot pass up on that opportunity to do so. Yeah. Yeah. Do I just start clocking? Really bad if my opponent randomly has something like a Fork Bolt. I'll do this next turn. You can get dazed next turn if they play a land, though. Go ahead and do this while this is not dazable. Like, the Hex Drinkers are just going to get better as the game goes on. Ooh, it's another Force of Will. Oh, nope. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Pitching an Expressive Iteration. Absolutely. This game is just absolutely fully out of my opponent's control at this point. I will dredge that. Just want to keep hitting my land drops here. All right, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. It has resolved. So now I'll go land drop, fetch. At this point, do I want black yet? Yeah, sure. My opponent's not really in a super good position to be wastelanding me. And given how much gas I have, I'm totally fine with playing one of these out. In all likelihood, my plan for the next turn cycle involves playing an Endurance to nuke my opponent's graveyard. Yeah, sure. I can try to make an unblockable, like, protection from instance Hexdrinker if I would like. Collector Oof, not a great draw here. Am I going for it? I don't really need to nuke the graveyard yet since my opponent didn't make a blue land drop. I'll go for it. Like, my opponent can get a pretty good tempo play here if they have it. And if they don't have it, I'd probably just win the game on the spot. Yeah, nice. All right, cool. So I have built my own true name nemesis here, and I'm going to build another next turn. This is looking pretty good, but like, admittedly, we're doing glorified gold fishing here. My opponent can't play any spells. Okay, my opponent can play spells now. I can probably just play double Hex Drinker, though, and like level up another Hex Drinker and never lose, because I know my opponent drew this land, so they don't have a Lightning Bolt. Alright, no, I will not do that. Oh, Grist is also just disgusting. Yeah, I know they don't have a Lightning Bolt. I'm just gonna go in with Hex Drinker. Level up 2. And level up 3. So they had that last turn and chose not to use it, which is wild to me. Alright. So bizarre. I guess that means I level up this one more time. Alright. I'll crash in with this. I have Grist to kill a Murktide that slips into play, so I don't have to Endurance right now. I think I'll also just beat that clock as well. If I have to, I can just like level this to 8, and it's a 2-turn clock. Alright, it did not flip. Dragon Rage Channeler is fine. And I assume it's no attacks from Delver here. I am correct. No, we will not dredge. Yeah, and here's a great example of Leovold just kind of being eh. So there's just no possible way this doesn't win, right? If this has protection from everything. Just kills next turn no matter what. Don't care about Murktide Regent if that is the case. Yeah, that's fine. 5, 6, 7, 8, and battle on in with Hex Drinker. This was definitely an all roads lead to Rome game. Like, I could have played this out any number of other ways. But, like, if opponent swings in for 6 in the air and double lightning bolts me, I'm still not dead, so... Opponent just showed me Young Pyromancer. That's good to know about. Yeah, and there is the concession. Okay. This is what our Carpet of Flowers are for. So I think I'm going to start with figuring out what I don't want. I don't want Collector Oof. I don't want Outland Liberator. This is essentially for, like, the artifact-based decks. My Tarmogoyf will probably be just fine. Leovold is a reasonable card in this matchup that I don't really want to draw ever. I just want it in my deck for Green Sun. But I have so many different good Green Sun targets that I don't think I need to keep this in my deck list. I think it's okay to trim a threat there. And from there, I'm not sure about Sylvan Library and some of these expensive things like Paradox Zone. Like, I absolutely cannot pay life for Sylvan Library. I don't mind it as manipulation. The question is, like, do I want Carpet of Flowers and Ignoble Hierarch, or is this going to be sort of a replacement situation? It's also not crazy to bring in Bojuka Bog. Let's cut the libraries, especially on the draw. That gives me 4 Carpet of Flowers, and then I can board in 1 more threat or a Bojuka Bog as an Elvish Reclaimer target. I think it kind of could go either way. Like, Bojuka Bog is not phenomenal, but as you could see in the mid game there, like, what was on my mind? It was Murktide Regent. I will play that. And at this point, I think I am like 5% 2 mana heavy, but I didn't actually board out that many like good threats. I think opponent is using this time to try and figure out what the hell I'm doing. Joke's on you, friend. This is my own thing. You're not going to find this deck list anywhere. Okay. This is a 1-lander with everything that I could possibly want in terms of cards. This is mana, this is mana, this is mana. Any land drop is a mana. I think I will keep this. Like, there is still a world where I will just lose to my first 2 spells being countered, but I'm pretty happy with this. Also, I'm just saying my opponent's name is Lord of Life Gain, and I haven't seen any life gain yet. False advertising. Absolutely has to be a basic here. No Covered Forest. And I don't think I want to throw Carpet of Flowers into a Daze. I would rather throw a potential Dryad Arbor into a Daze. Yeah, it resolved. Like, my opponent can just have a lightning bolt and it's whatever, but I think I need to get the mana going. The mana represents life from the loam, it represents carpet of flowers, it does so much. Okay. Alright, cool, I have a second land drop. Turn's very hard to play. I think I'm going to go land drop and attempt carpet of flowers. If this resolves, I get to go to my second main phase with 2 mana. Does not. It pitches a daze, though. I feel very good about not playing into that on turn 1. There's 2 lands in my graveyard. I am not going to play the Hex Drinker out. Or sorry, I'm not going to play the Elvish Reclaimer out until it is a 3/4, if possible. Not necessarily, like, a hard rule or anything, but given that I have other 1-drops, I'm fine with it. Oh, I don't like that. Although it does oddly turn Elvish Reclaimer into a larger threat. Looking for land. Did not hit. That's okay. Like, once I find a land, I will have access to life from the loam, and I'll hit all my land drops for presumably the rest of the game. And this now has a big butt. I almost want a second Dryad Arbor in this deck, which is wild. Like, very much not usually the case. Okay, opponent is just passing. Alright, there's my second land drop. We're gonna get in the red zone for 5 and go from there. Yeah. I also think it's reasonable to just, like, Bojuka Bog my opponent in this turn cycle. But I think my Hex Drinker is getting lightning bolted. Yes, that is the case. My opponent will take 3 and go to 12. I wonder if I should just try to finish this game. I think I am going to try and finish this game. Like, this just represents another 3/4 Elvish Reclaimer that can't be bolted. Yeah, I like that. And if my opponent gets a Murktide, they've used 2 Wastelands already, so my Maze of Ith would be pretty likely to hold them off for a good portion of the game. Yeah, this is what I like to see, right? Now my opponent is going to take half of their life total in Elvish Reclaimer damage. And then I can Green Sun for a third Elvish Reclaimer. So my opponent will take 6, be at 6, and then I will have 9 power in play the next turn. This card's a hell of a drug. Alright, there's a Misty. That's fine. Alright, let's tracker. Not what I'm looking for right now, but that's fine. Alright. Battle. Hit for 6. Put opponent 2/6. And I really don't want to life from the loam here because, like, I have exactly 3 lands in graveyard. I don't want to, like, decrease the amount of power that I have on board here. So we are going to run this plan back and get the third Elvish Reclaimer. Now, even through a single blocker, like a large Murktide region or something, I still represent lethal. And if this game drags on a little bit longer, like, I will just get to the point where I can play a Shifting Ceratops with haste. This has to be Murktide Regent plus, like, a Dragon Rage Channeler, or it's just not good enough. Okay, it is. Carpet of Flowers. That's gonna mean I have Shifting Ceratops pretty quickly. Am I essentially fine trading an Elvish Reclaimer or Dragon Rage Channeler and 3 damage? Not letting my opponent scry is kind of a big deal. And taking this blocker out of the way is pretty cool, because, like, this is pro-blue and can't be countered. The next turn I can cast this if I draw a green source or my opponent plays a blue land. I just, like, get this haste damage, and it kills my opponent. Although I guess at any point, this hitting play just ends my opponent too. Let's do a pre-combat Carpet of Flowers and just see if this resolves as a starting point. I would like to use this mana in my post-combat main phase. I think I will go ahead and make that attack. Alright, so there's the expected block and the expected block. That's all fine. Take 3, I lose one of these. Second main phase, I'll add green mana. There we go. And I don't care about playing this into a daze. Shifting Ceratops is going to end this game. Nice. I also just, like, do have lethal on board, like, not counting the Shifting Ceratops as well. Okay. Another Murktide? Another Murktide. Okay. I mean, blockers are what my opponent needs to stay in this game. That one very specifically is quite good. Paradox Zone is cool. Yeah, I'll use this ability. I'll add my green. I'm 1 mana short of kind of doing it all here. If I attack in with everything, it's a decent attack for me, but I think I'll just wait. Like, this shifting Ceratops should kill my opponent next turn, and I don't think I am in danger of death myself. So, like, as of right now, um, opponent, like, has to... No, even with that as a 3/3, the trample is still just gonna get them. And it's hard to set up this being a 3/3, just because, like, they have to do it post-combat. Not even good enough. I guess, like, I also can have Bojuka Bog involved as well. Alright, going to 1. And lightning my tracker, sure. Yeah, I just literally don't know how my opponent beats this card. Like, blue bounce spells can't do it. My opponent has moved past the point where they can double lightning bolt it. They also just have 1 card in hand. So I don't mind that that goes away. I guess they have to play towards, like, me not realizing trample is a thing. Alright. That should do it. Do I need to use my carpet mana pre-main? Not really. I could get a questing beast. I don't think that really matters. Rather leave up. Well, actually, maybe I will use this mana now. Yeah, I will actually use this mana now. Use 2 mana, cast Life from the Loam with a single target. Alright, so we're going to play that. Go ahead and just immediately fetch out another Bayou. Going to use this mana here to give this trample. And now I am attacking with a Bojuka Bog activation up if that is relevant for some reason. Alright, and there is the match. Alright, Murktide Regent, get wrecked. It feels good to be on the side of the matchup that doesn't care about Murktide Regent, which is fucking wild. Alright, round 2, we've been paired against a Yorion deck, which is, again, likely Death and Taxes, not 100% Death and Taxes. I am going to keep my hand. Hexdrinker is very good in this matchup, but the Yorion builds have a pretty good density of removal. So I am not going to expect my first Hexdrinker to go all the way. I'm going to expect that to get removed by like a Swords of Plowshares or Solitude, and then a... Oh, okay, cool. We are not actually playing against Death and Taxes. We are playing against some sort of like Yorion mid-rangey control deck, presumably with some things like Ice Fang Coatls to blink for value. I assume we're going to see like cantrip into removal spell here. Yeah, sure. Opponent probably has to get non-basics here, so if they have Ice Fang Coatls and such. Ooh. Awkward. So, like, the Wasteland is very good, but the Sylvan Library helps my opponent see more cards. I kind of have to, like, decide right now, am I going to try to Wasteland my opponent, keep them off balance, level up a Hex Drinker, and win with it? This is just protection from instants, so Prismatic Ending can still eat it if I invest a bunch of mana into it, which isn't the best. Oh, it knocks my opponent off of a color. I want a lot of mana as this game goes along, though. This decision's really hard. I think I could sit here and think about it for a very long time. I think I'm just going to go with this. This keeps my opponent from playing an Uro in the immediate future as well, which I'm okay with. So the thing is, if I just put more creatures onto the board, I pressure my opponent's life total and I make the Sylvan Library less relevant. Like, it's very possibly correct to just, like, fetch, play Scavenging Ooze, and, like, use that as my axis from which to fight Uro. Ponder is fine. So, see if Hexdrinker eats a removal spell here. It's possible my opponent wants me to invest more mana into it before they answer it. Don't think I like the idea of going all in on Hexdrinker right now. Okay, there's Tundra, so we are going to see a Prismatic Ending on here. Oh no, we're going to see a Preordained. Sure. And that was top. Boseiju. So Teferi can happen next turn. That's another reason to not just level up Hexdrinker. I think I'm going to get a second threat into play here. I know I can Boseiju Sylvan Library, by the way. You don't need to tell me that in the comments. I am aware that that is a thing I can do. I don't want to ramp my opponent right now. Yeah, I think I'm going to grab a Bayou here. and just play out a second threat so that I am better against a Teferi that's played out, or better versus like a single removal spell such as a Prismatic Ending. Opponent goes to 10 for that. Ooh, Terminus. So that is a rough hit for me. So the top last turn was so that they could leave the Terminus 2 down. That's not great for me. I was waiting to pay costs. Wonder what that was for. Is this a multiple body situation again? Sylvan Library plus Terminus is some shit. Still don't think I want to ramp my opponent, but it's starting to look more tempting. I think I'm going to just double creature here again. All right, first one resolved. I presume the second one will resolve as well. There is a Brainstorm. This is theoretical lethal next turn, though I don't really expect to kill my opponent next turn, if I'm being honest. Opponent's probably at the point where they can't draw cards with Sylvan Library anymore. So we'll see what they can come up with. Ice Fang Coatl is still not death touchy, if that's something that matters. Okay, there is a Prismatic Ending. Alright, I really like this Green Sun. Once I hit another land drop, it can just become Questing Beast for lethal. So let's turn this creature sideways, and then I think I'm going to play Tireless Tracker into land drop. Snapcaster is quite good. So you can brainstorm with that for another card. That's fine. And we'll trade these. Given that I drew that Green Sun, and given that like Tireless Tracker nets me a card for this, I think I am just going to go ahead and play the Oseiju as a land drop. And I'll brainstorm in response. That is a force pitching an Ice Fang. I am going to play this as a land drop. It all feels a little weird. It's weirder now that my opponent's at 5, because like at 5 it makes me want to get Shifting Ceratops, but I'll need more mana to make that hasty as well. Yeah. The land drop's so good here, because I get to attack, put my opponent to 1, and kill Jace. That's so good. Alright, I did not hit my land drop. Do I have any bullets in the deck that I really want here? Oh, I want these. Grist, kill a Planeswalker. Grist can not immediately kill a Planeswalker. Grist is a reasonable card here. What would be pretty bad versus a Prismatic Ending. I think I need to slow down and treat this Green Sun as the thing that will end this game. So I'm going to try to use this as a bait spell here to get a Force of Will out of my opponent's hand. And then I'll play an Elvish Reclaimer. And at this point, I am just waiting on a land to kill my opponent, because they are at 4, so now Questing Beast is lethal. I don't like how much filtering my opponent has right now, though. Mentor. That's okay, right? Drawing a land still... Is that a Swords to Plowshares? That's a Prismatic Ending. Drawing a land still means that my opponent is dead. Okay, that's fine. Presuming they don't counterspell, right? Because this thing can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm looking for. That gets me there next turn, which I guess is fine. There's 2. I do want Questing Beast over Shifting Ceratops. Do I want to Wasteland my opponent? I can Wasteland my opponent and end up in a similar spot next turn, and it just makes it less likely that my opponent can play us. Like, my opponent's not going to hold Mentor back, though, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. I don't need to be worried about days here. Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's just take out a land and call it a turn. Then I'll fetch Green Sun for 4. And short of, I think, the 4th Force of Will, I've got things here. No, 1, 2, 3. No. Okay, there are 2 Force of Wills remaining. And maybe a Force of Negation or 2 in there as well. Like, this is a Yorion deck list. Like, they have to fill the slots somehow. Sure. Just yield to this stuff. You can take your card off of that. Yep, that's fine. The unfortunate thing here is, like, my opponent, like, very much is just looking for counterspells at this point to back up the Mentor. and they get quite a few looks at it. Margins are tight here. What am I taking? I'm taking 7. That's fine. If this Green Sun doesn't resolve, I might die. I will not do that. Paradox Zone is cool, but obviously too slow with an onboard mentor. Oh, fuck! Caracas! Wow. I'm going to lose this game for wastelanding my opponent because I didn't play around them drawing exactly Caracas because the Questing Beast is fucking legendary. Holy shit. What a wild thing to occur. Fuck. Alright. That's bad. Wow. Oh, fuck. I don't think that was a punt, but that's wild. How the fuck do I win now? Get shifting Ceratops and prey? Wow. Wow, okay. Oh my god, I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Like, if they just Force of Will this or Force of Negation this, it doesn't matter, and, like, I would have lost regardless. Okay, I would have lost regardless. So I can concede here. Damn, that one was close. I had a lot of different ways I could have played that one. Like, I could have destroyed the Sylvan Library. I could have, like, invested more in Hex Drinkers so I didn't get 2 for 1. Alright. I would like Carpets, I would like Paradox Zone, and Nissa. So these are the things that I'm going to be going for. I think I'm going to get rid of Ignoble Hierarchs for Carpets. Ignoble Hierarchs get swept up in Terminus. Like, that's my starting substitution. I'm going to get rid of Maze of Ith for a Paradox Zone, and then I'm going to get Nissa in here, or like a Collector Oof, or Outland Liberator or something. I'm going to do a quick run through here and just make sure there's nothing else I want to do. Like, Outland Liberator is not really great. It can get rid of a Sylvan Library, so, like, it has X'd. No, I think I'm good with this from here. Now, notably, my opponent did show me, like, non-island cards. Don't think I want the one-lander here. Like, my good inevitability is in stuff like this and Paradox Zone. I think I need more than one land for this matchup. This is going to be a keep. Unsure what to throw back. Not either one of these. It's not Carpet of Flowers. It's one of the lands, but each one of the lands does different things. I think I'm just going to throw back Nurturing Peatland. Like, I'm not really in a situation right now where I want to just start taking damage from that from very early on. I am immediately going to play Carpet of Flowers. This may just trade for a prismatic ending, but I think I'm okay with that. Okay, we got a 2 for 1 with it. Things become a little awkward for me if my opponent leads on like a Tundra or something that's wastelandable, because like I want my land drops. Yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking about. Like, I want my land drops for things like Sinking Mana into Hex Drinker, but it's pretty hard to not want to wasteland the control deck early on. I will just play the Hex Drinker. It's possible that this is a good Dryad Arbor, though. Like, fetching Dryad Arbor against the Terminus deck is just a little rough, though. Yeah, sure. And I'm in this really weird, like, catch-22 situation where, like, I don't want to sink mana into Hex Drinker for some reasons, and I do want to sink it for other reasons. Like, I have Terminus to think about. What did that do? That was a bottom. Sure. So that's always 2 damage with Hex Drinker. 2 lands in graveyard. Really want to get up to, like, Paradox Zone levels of mana, but I don't super want to get a Mana Dork either. Awkward. I'm gonna Green Sun. I will just pick up another Hex Drinker. We're gonna play the 2-1 aggro game. With 2 creatures on board, I'm pretty comfortable sinking further mana into Hex Drinker until I can get to the point that I just play this. Okay, sure. Alright. I really wanted more land, but again, like, turning my... sure, that's fine. Turning my Green Sun into a Mana Dork that would just get swept up by a Terminus is not the best. Okay. Didn't eat a Terminus. Get in there for 4. I'm not going to play a Hex Drinker into a Terminus that my opponent could have just set up. Got a pretty beefy Tarmogoyf that can bridge me into the mid game if I need to. But opponent's got a decent number of powerful plays here. Like they can just slam a Mentor. They can play Teferi, bounce the leveled Hex Drinker. Like my opponent has good options here. Uro is a thing that can just start happening as well. Okay, it is a prismatic ending. Sure, that's fine. Carpet. Carpet just breaks neutral on mana right now. But that's okay. It will start letting me get to a more respectable mana total. God damn it. I just misclicked there. I needed to play Carpet pre-combat. Fuck, that's a really bad mistake. That's a really, really, really bad mistake. Okay, it is what it is. Alright, opponent goes to 9. Yeah, but I could have played Carpet pre-main phase, Tarmogoyf post-combat main phase, so, like, I'm going to waste a mana next turn, which is super relevant, because, like, that's leveling Hex Drinker pre-combat versus not. That was really bad. Okay, that's fine. So I would mark my opponent ahead at this point. That my error from last turn is really going to bite me in the ass if I don't draw a land, which I did not. Yeah, because now Snapcaster Mage can trade with this in combat, whereas it shouldn't have been able to, and I miss 2 points of damage in a very, very relevant race. Play this pre-combat Carpet. Back for 2. Opponent goes to 6. I will use this ability. I'll make green. I think I need to go wide here. I don't want a single removal spell to keep me from attacking next turn. I will get another Hex Drinker. And I can level one of them pre-combat next turn. Very scared of like a Supreme Verdict happening though. I'm not quite to mana levels where this does stuff yet. Okay. Opponent could be facing down lethal this turn. They're not because I messed up. What are we working with here? A Jace? It is a Jace. Yeah. I have given my opponent more time than they need. So I have 3 mana to work with. I use this post combat. All right. I will kill Jace. I am not going to pretend that I'm close enough to the finish line that I can like not kill one of the greatest planeswalkers of all time. Make green mana here. I think I am just gonna play Hex Drinker and level one of them twice. And then in the situations where I draw a land, I can have both Hex Drinkers leveled before they attack, which is pretty legit. Another Jace, absolutely. That's fine with me. Cool. I have 4 mana pre-combat. Again, though, I'll just use it post-combat. Yeah. Kill Jace. Alright, good stuff. Now I'll use Carpet. Make green mana. Cast a Green Sun, where X is 3. And this is going to... Oh, fuck, I can't get leveled because of that Caracas. Now that I've ended up here, I'm just going to get a Grist. I'll plus and make an Insect. That was not the optimal line. I forgot about my opponent's Caracas. I'm probably in an okay situation here. In terms of closing out this game. Jesus, okay. Actually, that doesn't really matter. Alright. Search your library for 3 card. I will search for 3 card. Do I want a swamp? Sure. Oh, hey, Caracas is gone. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. Put my opponent to 1 here pretty easily. So with that, I am just going to go ahead and level the Hex Drinker at this point and take this damage. Yeah. I'll attack and put my opponent to 1. This will shut off fetch lands. Good stuff. We'll use this ability. Green. Plus Grist. I'm not going to put another card into play. I have 3 bodies in play. And I'm working towards Hex Drinker just having protection from everything. Didn't get Terminus. So I'm good. I guess I could get Terminus from hand. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Nissa Who Shakes the Worlds. Does this untap it? It does untap it. Hell yeah. So I'll use this ability. I'll add green. There's 5 mana with my opponent. Hellbent. Okay, yeah, cool. From the Ashes. I mean, I have 5 basics in my deck, so, like, that's not that bad, and my opponent blowing up the Caracas actually gave me some more lethal lines, oddly. But that misclick damn near allowed my opponent to stabilize, like, they had multiple Jaces. I don't think I want Thorns or anything on the draw specifically, so I think I'm gonna call this good. My carpets are medium, but, like, the difference between my Green Suns being for, like, 2 and 3, or, like, being able to get them up to, X's 4, like, it's huge. Like, even though those carpets are disruptible, I still think I'm okay with what I've done here. Okay. I'll keep this opening hand. Like, a turn 3 Grist is pretty good, and I have some distraction plays along the way. My Hex Drinkers are really better in the mid game than the early game, but, like, a 2-1 beater that lets me use my extra mana is not the end of the world here. Yeah, and yeah. Alright, cool. So, kind of my big decision for this turn cycle is going to be like, oh, never mind. Ooh, I like drawing that. I don't want to play Yavimaya. Let's just like Green Sun for a Hex Drinker here. I think that's better than Reclaimer. Like, I'll take Reclaimers as end game, or rather like mid game 3/4s of a decent size. Sure. Is my Hex Drinker making it around the table, or are we getting into bounce territory? Oh, that is straight up just Yori into hand. Sure. Yeah, I really don't like drawing my basics here. I want those in the deck for From the Ashes. And that ate a horse. And we'll get in for 2. I'd like shifting Ceratops to be a 5 mana play so I can do it with haste. But I may be in a beggars can't be choosers situation. Yeah. The opponent needs to bounce this Hex Drinker. Or I guess they could plus as well. Okay, yeah, they are going to plus. Alright. Wasteland. Sure. Next turn I can shifting Ceratops with haste. It can't be countered. What do I do this turn? Just attack Jason Leovold? Leovold means when, like, my opponent can't really brainstorm to set up a Terminus effectively. Sure. I'm fine with that. Like, saving this for Questing Beast is also pretty reasonable as well. Oh, actually, I could also just get Grist, sacrifice Hex Drinker, kill Jace now. I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I guess since my opponent is tapped out, I can attack them for 2 first. Not expecting any crazy shit like Solitude. Right. Sacrifice a creature. Sacrifice this. And nuke Jace. Plays a little better versus something like a Terminus than the Leovold line does. I essentially traded Hex Drinker for Jace and a couple points of Grist loyalty. And then from here, the hope is that shifting Ceratops can just be a 3-turn clock. Yorion won't block shifting Ceratops. Prismatic Ending can't answer it right now either. Mentor would be good. Is it Teferi? Pro blue. Okay, they're straight up just drawing a card. I don't think I'll kill that. I think 5 damage is better, and then I just try to kill it with a Grist insect token at some point. I'll get my Trop. So we'll play Shifting Ceratops. Activate its ability. Haste. Go at you directly. This is a 3-turn clock. Very good with that. And just plus Grist. Absolutely. Ooh, double insect. So Grist's plus ability says if an insect card was milled, you put a loyalty counter on it. And remember, Grist is a 1/1 insect in other zones. So that's why I got double tokens there. Just in case you were curious. All fine. Prismatic Ending on the Grist. Absolutely. Okay, and this was kind of what I was talking about having like late game 3/4s. So this will go at you. We'll send both insect tokens at Teferi. We'll see if I eat a Swords to Plowshares or anything here. Okay, it is a Ponder. So this can, in theory, hit a Terminus. Which would be devastating, admittedly. Fuck. Okay. That's very good. So I will go ahead and Wasteland this Tundra. I have one. I've only got 2 in there right now. This can be the third. Play an Elvish Reclaimer. I waste an attack killing Teferi now, but I didn't want to waste 5 damage on a Teferi, so I think I'm good with that. The next question here is, like, do I fetch, like, a Dryad Arbor? Ooh. Do I have my Bojuka Bog in my deck right now? No. That's rough. Okay. Life's very bad. Yikes. I can get Dryad Arbor and poke Teferi here. Yeah, my Bojuka Bog being in my deck wouldn't even have really done anything here. I need to top deck some gas. I am going to poke this Teferi. I have some bad top decks now, like Carpet of Flowers. Yeah, that's not great. I am going to play this and fetch with it purely to take a land out of my deck. And poke this Teferi. I think this one is over in favor of my opponent now. They have Uro, Caracas, plus an active Planeswalker as a distraction. This Caracas also means that some of my, like, very good top decks, like Questing Beast, are just, like, not good if my opponent leaves open Caracas. If they use it to bounce Uro repeatedly, it's okay for me. Like, that line opens up again. They very much don't have to. I'm going to end up just on the wrong side of this one, since my opponent hit that Terminus. I hit very few outs to that Shifting Ceratops, but that was one of them. So close. What is this getting me? Endurance, probably. I just probably need to nuke that Uro from existence. Alright. Should technically attack first, I guess. Let's poke Teferi. See if my opponent uses any cards protecting it. And then cast this. 4x is 3. My opponent showed me an actual factual counterspell, so shit can happen. Surgical Extraction on Grist. That's fine. I have one of those remaining in deck, and that's not what I was going for. This card, which I assume is a one of, has, like, quietly bodied me this match. Alright, cool. Endurance. Target you. And send those cards away. The Uro being gone is a huge boon for me. But shit very much can still happen. Like, if this Endurance dies and this Teferi isn't checked, like, that's very much not good for me. This is great for me. Alright. Attack Teferi. Actually, I'm gonna send this at Teferi too, just in case. Like, I do not want my opponent to bounce with that card. I'm okay missing a point of damage to do that. 3? I think I'm gonna do this for 3 and get Leovold. Possible I'm supposed to just sandbag that card, though, as to not walk into another Terminus. But this shuts off so many of the things that will be very strong for my opponent to top deck. And my opponent's on a 2-turn clock from here. Caracas is, like, a thing that interacts with Leovold in a way that I am okay with it interacting with. If my opponent repeatedly gives me cards, I am very good with that. Yeah, they're not willing to bounce the Leovold here. Trying to play towards drawing a sweeper and just, like, dealing with everything at once. Okay, cool. So this isn't going to be a lethal attack due to Caracas bouncing Leovold. Ice Fang Coatl is fine. It is Death Touchy. So I'm only going to get in probably 1 point of damage this turn. Okay, expected block is expected. Okay, opponent is absolutely just taking damage from Leovold here. Yeah, with that in play, I am comfortable playing out my last card, whereas I wouldn't do that if my opponent just bounced the Leovold. I just want to make sure I have lethal next turn in all the worlds where my opponent doesn't have a Terminus. Like, with Sylvan Library in play so that I can refuel, I'm very good with that. Oh, that's fine. So this is still lethal. Okay, there's an Uro. Opponent can, like, Caracas bounce that immediately and just use that as a life gain engine. Again, I'm in this situation where I wish I had boarded in Bojuka Bog. I expected a lot of these games were going to be over by this point. We'll see, though. This is going to be tight. Like, time is very much a real factor for everyone here. I boarded out my Mazavith, right? I boarded out my Mazavith. It'll get a little weird if my opponent can get this Uro into play this turn. They're 1 card short of doing that. And I think this Caracas is going to... fuck. That does not prevent that. As long as opponent has another green source here. Uh-oh. Oh, did they already pre-tap 1 green or something? Okay. I must have missed something. I thought that snow-covered forest was already tapped. Here, there's a floating mana. Okay, and a prismatic ending as well. Alright. That's definitely scary. Swamp goes back. Pay life for the other one of these. Or 5. Green sun for 2. Protection from everything. Yeah. I will go to 12 to clear that swamp off the top of my library. I'm good with that. Is Shifting Ceratops in my deck? Shifting Ceratops is in my deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus haste. Opponent is at 5. Shifting Ceratops is in my deck. X is 4. Has to be Force of Will plus blue card. Was not. Shifting Ceratops. Activate ability. Oh my gosh, folks. That was a great match. That was very scary. We're 2-0 with this deck. These matches are long, though. Like, buckle up. Okay, I've kept my round 3 opening hand here. I have a decent mix of lands and spells, and a little bit of acceleration in the form of Ignoble Hierarch. I'm just going to go ahead and lead on basics here, and get my ramp plan going, and see what my opponent is up to. Delver. Absolutely. Is Grist a bait spell? Is that how this is gonna work? Grist feels like a bait spell here. That's wild. I just like want to resolve these endurances as the game goes on. I don't think I want to wasteland my opponent. Like, my hand is fucking gas-o-lean. I'm just gonna fetch another basic here, as to not be wastelandable, and I have my black off of this. The Grist walks into Force of Negation that the other cards don't walk into, but I think I'm good with that. I just want to resolve a... Oh, wow. Do I want to kill this? I really like this mana source, but I think I'm good with this. Let's nuke that before my opponent has a chance to do any sort of selection with it. Like, if I trade Ignoble Hierarch for Dragon Rage Channeler, I'm good with that. And if I trade Lightning Bolt for Grist, I'm good with that. Okay, sure. Do I lose the Grist? I do not lose the Grist. Cool. I think I'm just going to grab another basic here. Like, I know I might draw another Grist, but just having this, like, absolutely fucking rock-solid mana base right now just feels so good. Cool. And I will go for a mid-combat endurance. This will give my opponent one more chance to draw, like, a Daze or Force of Will or something. Alright, did not flip. Storm is fine. Yes. Goodbye, Grist. That probably means that this Delver isn't coming in. I have a second endurance. I think I'm good with playing the first one out like this into a Daze. Ooh, just didn't happen. Nice. So that puts my opponent back quite a bit in terms of things like Murktide Regent. Yeah, I think I am currently the beatdown, which is wild because, like, it's turn 4 and I'm playing against Delver. There's 15. I'm just going to put another one of these in play before my opponent has another chance to draw a counter spell. Nuke your graveyard. And play a 3/4. Oh my god, it's turn 4, I have 10 power in play versus Delver. Jesus. Good luck! Like, what are they supposed to do? Did we accidentally build a meme deck that crushes Delver? Did I oops break the format? I didn't oops break the format. Like, that's obviously hyperbole, but, like, this like fringe mono green strategy might actually be pretty reasonable versus Delver. Okay, that was a forked bolt. The opponent is going to finish off with a lightning bolt there. Yeah, that's fine. I'm still attacking for 6. I guess opponent can, like, get a Murktide Regent into play, and that would be pretty good. I'd have to tutor up Maze of Ith. I have the Bojuka Bog for post-sideboard games, but not for game 1. Like, that's a thing. Alright, take 6. And then I will wasteland you. I hope I didn't get too aggressive in playing out these endurances, but it seemed reasonable. I think I'm about to stare down a Murktide. Like, opponent... Oh, wow. Opponent has to have drawn something, right, on these, like, various draws that did not flip Delver. So it feels like Murktide Regent. Alright, there is a Dragon's Rage Channeler. It wasn't Murktide Regent. Lucky. Very happy to see that. Like, I'm at 6... Don't even have to tutor. Don't even have to tutor. You in chump? Yeah, okay. Opponent is in chump block territory. I guess they can technically have a lightning bolt. I should have played Maze of Ith pre-combat to untap this, maybe. Although I don't think it matters much. It does matter. Like, if my opponent goes, like, Steam Vents, no, Mystic Sanctuary, sure. Or another expressive iteration, that's fine. Anyway, I'm not supposed to play out the Maze of Ith. Okay, it has flipped to the expressive iteration, kind of as expected. And my opponent needs to use this to probably find Murktide Regent. But I think I'm still favored even if they do find it. Alright, they found a Ponder. Yeah, I don't think I was supposed to play out the Maze of Ith. Okay, Ponder's fine. And that's a shuffle. Okay. Now I will go ahead and attack with both of these. Petty Theft, absolutely. That means the Delver is on chump block territory. That's fine. Then I will play out that Elvish Reclaimer. I will play out a new Elvish Reclaimer. And, you know what? I'll make my land drop. Opponent needs 3 bodies here. Yeah. Alright. So I think I want Carpets and the Bojuka Bog. What did I do before? Probably like Outland Liberator and Collector Oof out. And I think I took my Sylvan Libraries out as well. I know I want the Bojuka Bog. Did I trim 1 Ignoble Hierarch? Or I think I trimmed the Leovold. Did I trim the Leovold so I didn't have to worry about the colors? Or did I trim the Ignoble Hierarch? Because I was bringing in a bunch of things that produced mana. I don't remember, and I don't know what's correct off the top of my head. My opponent has shown me a Forked Bolt, which makes Ignoble Hierarch a little bit worse, but my opponent's pretty unlikely to get a 2-for-1 with that. It has to be like double Hexdrinker or double Ignoble Hierarch. I guess like Dryad Arbor is a thing. I'm gonna junk the Leovold just so I don't have to worry about that extra color. And I'll just treat myself as a 2-color deck that just has a Tropical Island. I don't really like this hand, and I don't think I can throw it back either. I have 3.5 lands. I have a reasonable early gameplay. I have a reasonable mid gameplay, a reasonable late gameplay. Holy shit. I want to play that around Days next turn. Alright. We'll play a Hexdrinker here. And it has resolved. So we'll see how scary this turn cycle is. Lightning Bolt is a very good draw for my opponent here. That means they can just deal with this Hexdrinker, and they don't have to deal with it immediately. Yeah, as you can see, they did not. I'm not expecting Spell Pierce. I don't think I want to wasteland my... Well, you kind of want to wasteland my opponent. The land drop's super awkward here in the worlds where the Carpet of Flowers gets Force of Willed. It's like when it gets Force of Willed, I don't want to wasteland. Like, if this resolves, I would just be perfectly happy playing Maze of Ith, but if this doesn't resolve, I want to play Elvish Reclaimer. Wow, this turn is fucking hard. I think I'm going to Wasteland, force the floating mana. This takes Days off of the table. And if my opponent has Brainstorm or Lightning Bolt, they have to choose. Sorry, if they have Brainstorm and Lightning Bolt, they have to choose. And they have chosen Lightning Bolt. Fine. I will now attempt Carpet of Flowers. Ooh, hell yeah. Now in my second main phase, we'll make green. You know, nobody say anything. Nobody say anything. Oh, that is the literal worst draw for me. Oh, never mind. My Maze of Ith will be fine here. That's fine. Yes, I'll make green. I'm just going to play Maze of Ith here. And that's, like, very good unless my opponent has another Wasteland. Yeah, I don't think I played that turn right. Absolutely get in there, Delver. Absolutely. I put my cards in my deck to click on them. So, this Carpet isn't doing anything right now. but it has the potential to do just so much. Ooh, wow, that was good enough to get a Force of Will. My opponent might be just in, like, I have to Force of Will something situation. Good with this. Yeah, okay. I have demonstrated that I know how to click on my cards. All right. Play a land drop here. Call it a turn. I get back-to-back Grists on the next few turns, which will be very strong. And opponent doesn't have anything going on with their turn. I am good with it. I'll go ahead and fetch a Bayou here. I'm very wastelandable already. Very, very, very wastelandable already. Opponent, like, very easily could have another counterspell for this. They do not. Go ahead and plus here. This puts this out of range of a Delver activation, and I also just have Maze of Ith anyway. Oh, opponent found a Wasteland for my Maze of Ith. That's very good for them. That means they can poke this Grist. That's fine. My Wasteland isn't exactly fantastic here, but I'm good with it. So I'll go ahead and plus here. There's an insect. I think I'm just going to play a new Grist. Just immediately answer the Delver. Like, I can grind, like, 3 points of life out of this, but I would rather just empty this board. Like, if this board is empty, and my opponent has no permanents in play, while I have, like, 6+ permanents, that game is going to favor me. I also get exalted on my insect token for playing the turn out this way. I do Arbor of Flowers. Like, I really, really appreciate the enthusiasm here, but don't quite need you right now. All right. Yeah. Haste. Plus. And you know what? We're just going to attack with a Shifting Ceratops so that it attacks for 6. Gets to, you know, put in a little extra work. Opponent is a trooper for not conceding here. They have a lot of belief in their ability to get out of stuff. Yeah. We're 3-0, folks, and we've beaten fucking Blue-Red Delver twice. Wow. Hey folks, Phil here. This is just a reminder for those of you who supported me either via Patreon or via YouTube members. Please join the Discord if you want to kind of chat a little bit. It's pretty cozy in there. We talk about everything from delicious meats people are cooking and grilling up to, like, advanced magic strategy. So feel free to kind of join in and become part of the community. All right, back to the show. All right, round 4. I have kept my opening hand here. We have a decent mix of mana and business spells. Burn? Burn. I don't really have any life gain to speak of. I think I'm not favored here. I think I need to play Ignoble Hierarch rather than a Hex Drinker. I think getting to larger amounts of mana is more important than anything else, because, like, 3-4 endurances will brickwall my opponent's creatures and whatnot. Alright, opponent's only getting in 1, which probably means they're playing, like, an Eidolon here. Yeah, okay, cool. That thing is going to do a shit ton of damage to me if I don't kill it. Accordingly, I'm going to kill it. I have a Bayou in my hand. I'm just going to get a basic Forest here, and we'll play Grist off of this mana. I take 2 off the Grist, but that's a 2 that I would have taken in combat anyway. Sacrifice this. Junk that card. So Grist will be worth a few points of life, and then hopefully I get to the point where I can just play some big butt creatures and, like, make this not a problem anymore before I'm at too low of a life total. Was it Firecraft? Absolutely. Assume they finish off Grist here. I could be wrong depending on what's in their hand, though. Okay. Sylvan Library, very bad. This play Reclaimer and level Hex Drinker twice? Or is this Wasteland my opponent so that they can't play another Exquisite Firecraft or Sulfuric Vortex? Also, like, which one of these lands do I actually play? Because if I top deck a Grist, I want to have this in play, but, like, I have Price of Progress to respect. I don't know if I'm going to beat my opponent having a bunch of direct-to-face burn damage, though. I'm going to play Double Creature. I think I'm going to play Double Creature. It's, like, better to save this for a turn and, like, play it and level it to a 4/4 immediately, but I straight up do not think that I have the time to do that. Like, if a spell goes here instead of my face, that is actively good for me. Shit. Double block one? Double block one. This can go badly for me, though. But not blocking could legitimately kill me, right? With, like, red spell, Fire Blast or something. Yeah, there's a pop. Fire Blast can be gross here. Yeah, there it is. Like, I legitimately would have died if I didn't block at least one of those. Oh, I'm still dead anyway. Fuck. Jesus. Alright. Ugh. Okay. I believe I have almost nothing for this matchup. Like, I'll probably play some Thorns. But essentially, like, I want the games to drag on so that I can have inevitability, and my opponent just wants me dead before I can do that. This is a harder matchup for me than Delver because there's more burn that can just go to the face. Like, Delver gives you more time. Delver cantrips to set stuff up. This deck doesn't. Electro Oof is bad. Life from the Loam is too slow. Outland Liberator is medium. Tarmogoyf is medium. Grist is slow, but good. Grist gets worse if I'm bringing in Thorns. I mean, so does Paradox Zone for that matter. I will trim one of those and get some Thorns in here. I think this is what I'm going to... Sylvan Library actually is unusable. Like, I can never draw a card with that. I might play some more finishers over those. Like, bringing in a Paradox Zone while bringing in Thorns is super awkward. I will keep this hand. So, like, kind of the hope here is opponent has a creature-based hand that I can try to brick wall with an Endurance, and then I get some Hex Drinkers leveled up and kill them with them. But, like, very, very, very much not hopeful for winning this matchup. Yeah, the original deck list that was sent to me had, like, an Umazawa's Jitte, to kind of help with some of these situations. I want another basic? I want another basic. I'll play Endurance in combat to ambush Goblin Guide. A very early Paradox Zone could be super cool. I'm gonna let this Goblin Guide trigger go off while I have more lands in my deck, just ever so slightly increasing the chance that I actually draw a land off of that trigger. Because I could use the extra cards. The extra cards just get me towards hardcasting a Paradox Zone or activating Hex Drinkers in a way that will just take over the game. The game on the draw is... Sorry, the game on the play is significantly easier than the game on the draw. So, like, I get my turn 1 Hierarch into Endurance here before this Goblin Guide has hit me twice. Yeah, I am going to get to take it out in combat. And if I see a Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning type effect on this card, I would be totally happy with that. Alright, opponent has taken out my Noble Hierarch. That's fine with me. Let's just continue playing basics. Play Hex Drinker. Play Hex Drinker. Start leveling up one of them. I am going to take the attack with the Endurance. I may take some chip damage for doing that. But at the end of the day, I need to kill my opponent. And I need to do it fast. Because this shit can just happen. Alright, cool. I guess let's start here. By leveling the Hex Drinker. Let's see if that... Okay, that did get to 3. So the next question is, like, is this Paradox Zone relevant in this game? I'm going to kill my opponent next turn, or my opponent is going to kill me next turn, so I believe the answer is no. I will play out a Wasteland and not tap it, so that I am better suited at not taking damage from Price of Progress. The opponent kills me, or they don't here. That's good for me. That makes it very hard for me to die. Okay, there's the cycle. Okay. Cool. I'm trying to think of ways that I can maximize my chances of staying alive here. I don't think I can tap this and, like, send this to 8. I'm going to try to level up this just in case. So, like, Fire Blast on Endurance still means that my opponent is dead now. Okay, there's the concession. Even on the play, like, margins were tight there, right? Like, I'm gonna assume that my opponent had, like, 6-ish points of burn in their hand or something. Alright, again, on the draw, things are harder. Paradox Zone is really slow. It's powerful if it can get going, but it probably won't. But again, the stuff that's over here is not great. Maybe I play Collector Oof as, like, a legit 2-2 that gets in the way of something over one of those Paradox Zones on the draw. I could see that. But most of the rest of this stuff is eh. Thorn also becomes really medium on the draw, but it's one of my few pieces of interaction here. Scavenging Ooze is one of my only question mark life gain cards. Accordingly, I think I'm going to keep this hand even though it's pretty medium. I want this to be one of the hands where burn spells just go at my face instead of my opponent having a creature. I also would have liked to have drawn a turn 1 play, but you can't have it all. I'm, like, absolutely nervous here. There's worlds where my opponent doesn't have a second land and they just, like... Oh, never mind. Okay. Lava Spike me, absolutely. Land drop, Thorn. Try to keep some of the Exquisite Firecraft type cards from hitting me. Okay. Opponent's got lands. My Thorn means that I can't double spell this turn, unfortunately. I don't want to play Scavenging Ooze until there's something in the graveyard for me. Dryad Arbor better than Oof? Dryad Arbor might be better than Oof. It's a weird situation here. It's like Dryad Arbor contributes to Price of Progress, which is like a very real thing right now. But if I win this game, it's either by gaining some life with Scavenging Ooze or like whacking my opponent 3-ish times with a Shifting Ceratops. Yeah, there's Price of Progress. Life's bad. My opponent could have some Spectacle stuff that could get stuck in their hand. A really weird choice to make if I draw a Wasteland, too. Like, wasting a Fiery Islet, especially if it's untapped, is super awkward. But could be correct. Okay, never mind. So, my opponent's spells are unlocked. Now they're probably deciding whether or not it's worth it to use a removal spell on Dryad Arbor. I would like them to, and then I would like to draw a land so I could play Ooze and eat with it in the same turn. And guarantee at least 1 life. Okay, that is an Exquisite Firecraft at my face. I did not hit a land. It is very bad for me, and I'm probably dead next turn. I'm going to do a real big-brained setup here, okay? I'm going to play Scavenging Ooze and Elvish Reclaimer. If I make it to my next turn, I can get rid of Dryad Arbor with Elvish Reclaimer's ability and eat it with Scavenging Ooze, putting me to 7, which critically means I am not dead to 2 spells. Well, 2 3-damage spells, more accurately. Alright. Here's Reclaimer, and, like, if my opponent has it here, they have it here. If they don't have it here, things get cute. I don't think I will be favored by any stretch of the imagination, but there will be a chance for me. My opponent's been in the tank for a while, so I'm not immediately dead. That's the good news. So my opponent doesn't have double spell that just goes to my face. Okay, so they're going to just get a card deeper here. Things get weird if I draw a land. So they can just go for a kill. I have a 2-turn clock if I play Questing Beast, which may be better than going up to 7 life. Okay, there's another land drop. Swift Spear, sure. Oh, that's super awkward. Okay, I know exactly how large it is. Yeah, the attack's kind of weird. My opponent attacks, I block and eat with Scavenging Ooze and gain life. We got 4 versus 3. Now, this was a very hard turn from my opponent's end. This also feels like they don't have a burn spell in hand to me, just for what it's worth. I think if you don't have a burn spell in hand, you don't... If you have a burn spell in hand, you don't give me a chance to go to 4. Okay. So I didn't draw a land, so the Questing Beast line is not available to me. I think I have to leave up the line that gains me life. The next question is, do I do it now or later? If I do it now, I can't be lightning bolted in response. If I do it later, it may come as a surprise to my opponent. I think I need it to be a surprise to my opponent. Like, if I die in response, I'm okay with that. But I think I need the potential value of just, like, catching my opponent off guard to win here. Like, gaining 1 life gives me 1 turn, but I don't need 1 turn. I need multiple turns. Right. That is a lightning bolt at my face. So we'll go 2 mana. Activate Elvish Reclaimer. Sacrifice Dryad Arbor. Look, if you have another spell, cast it, and I'll die. Okay. There is no covered forest. Now I will eat that Dryad Arbor. Opponent has another spell, I die. They don't. I can hope they draw lands for the rest of the game. Alright, I'm at 4. I'm at 1. What was so hard about that? Like, I was literally dead to you playing anything that did a single point of damage. Alright, they just wasted like 5 minutes of my time. That's fine. Alright, that feels like a very, very hard matchup. I don't think I'm ever winning that with how the deck is currently constructed. But I'm still very happy with the deck thus far. Alright, final round. I'll keep my opening hand here. I need either more lands or more early plays. I'm fine with either one of those things happening. Lands is the option. I am going to begin by fetching. I am not expecting Wasteland from a Polluted Delta deck. I am going to get a Tropical Island. On the off chance that I draw Leovold, I probably want to cast it versus a Polluted Delta deck. Like, if this is a flex land in Delver or whatever, like, they got me. But it's more likely that we're playing against something like Storm or Doomsday. And since I have double Black Source in hand already, I want to play towards the worlds where I... Uri. Wow. Absolutely. Wild. So we're probably playing against, like, an Expressive Iteration control deck from the looks of it then. Probably 4-ish colors. Just guessing. Let's get Life from the Loam going. And then I have some pretty good stuff for as this game goes long. Ooh. Force of Negation, on paper, very good for my opponent. Like, in the context of this hand where I still have 2 more land drops, it's not, like, the best, but fine. Okay. Does my opponent's Fury deck have days? Or is this a full-on control deck? I think it's a full-on control deck. My opponent hasn't played any threats yet. So do I want to do end of turn Endurance into Grist, or do I just want to jam Grist now? I think I want end of turn Endurance. Play Boseiju as a land. I'm also just, like, not too far away from just something obnoxious like Green Sun for shifting Ceratops. Endurance, cast. And I am going to nuke my opponent's graveyard if this resolves. I don't want to put a Fury back into their deck, but if they're playing Murktide, I don't want them to have easy access to that. Right, cool. Land. Could be a Green Sun for X equals 3. I don't want that, so I will play a Grist this turn. We'll do that post-combat. I can't activate this to play around that. Absolutely. And second main phase, we do this. Opponent's on 1 card. I have so much gas left. I want to buy you here in case my opponent is playing Wasteland. I'm not expecting, like, Blood Moon or Back to Basics given the things that I'm seeing over there. Actually, maybe I will just take a Forest because I don't want to lose to that if my opponent has it. That's all fine. Guess what Grixis is going to have a real fucking hard time answering. Strix is fine. Would love for my opponent to play a card. If I could play Paradox Zone at a time... Yes. If I can play a Paradox Zone at a time where it's almost guaranteed to resolve, that's just very strong for me. Do this. Before any other decisions, let's see if this is happening. Opponent can have, like, actual factual counterspell. Daze seems kind of unlikely given what I'm seeing. Nice. Attack with my insect token. I assume my opponent does not want to trade. Do not. I am just gonna kill their Baleful Strix immediately. I don't want that Baleful Strix to trade for a Paradox Zone token later. Like, these fractals are going to get stupid big very quickly. Yeah, I absolutely don't care about my... Jesus. Alright, X is 4 plus haste. Seems good. X is 4. Alright, they're F6'd. Shifting Ceratops. With haste. Absolutely get wrecked. There's 7 damage, and then I make a 4/4 fractal. No, I don't think any card in the format gets you back from this. I mean, Narset is cool. But... yeah. Filthy. Absolutely filthy. I need to do a quick check on the text of a card. The new Hidetsugu. Is it all 1-drops? I think it's all 1-drops. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. Exile all graveyards, and then flip it. Okay. So I'm always boarding in these 2 cards. I think I want access to Bojuka Bog because like it feels like my opponent is a Murktide Regent deck, and then Carpet of Flowers is kind of medium, and I'll have to think about that. I don't want Collector Oof or Outland Liberator. That gets me these 2 cards. I think I want access to Maze of Ith as a tutor target to deal with a Murktide or a Hidetsugu that is in play. So my kind of next question here is Carpet of Flowers better than Ignoble Hierarch? Ignoble Hierarch does combat damage, but is more susceptible to lightning bolts. On the other hand, it also protects from edicts, so kind of a wash. I am going to get these in here, and I think I win these games by playing my big dumb shit. So I'm going to trim 1 Wasteland for 1 Bojuka Bog, even though I think Wasteland is okay in the matchup. Yeah. I think this hand clunks around and dies. Just mulligan. This is also a bit of a clunker. Don't think I am going to go down another card, though. Like, I'm not happy with this hand, but I also don't really want to go to 5. Which one of you is the bait spell here? Elvish Reclaimer is the answer. Elvish Reclaimer is the bait spell. That wasn't true necessarily before I drew the first one. Yeah, that's fine. And like now I'm going to be faced with the same general decision again. The Hex Drinker gets better as time goes on, and it's just easier to level it up. I think Elvish Reclaimer is the bait spell again. Yeah, that's fine. And I will just bog my opponent and just keep them further away from a Murktide if that's something that their deck is doing. And I can try to use an Endurance in like another 2 turns to try to do that same general play pattern again. This Hex Drinker and rotate Bojuka Bog into a green source that I can actually play an Endurance? Or is this straight up just play Hex Drinker and start leveling? I wish I could play double Hex Drinker. Actually, that's bad against Hidetsugu. Tough turn. Complicated greatly by the fact that Sudden Edict is a card that exists. If I like play it, yeah, fine. All right, play out a Hex Drinker. Pass the turn. Okay, no movement from my opponent. I think I'm gonna take this opportunity before they have black mana available and can Sudden Edict to just go ahead and rotate Bojuka Bog or another black source of some kind. I'll make it a fetch land. Alright. The opponent has all 3 of their basics. I guess that's like really awkward if they Blood Moon me, and I didn't wait to do that. But I would not expect Blood Moons to still be in against me as of right now. Arn, sure. And we'll see what they can do with it. Off. I'm going to keep the Hex Drinker. It's just going to be hard for me to act. Oh, that's really good. It's going to be tough for me to activate an Elvish Reclaimer as of right now. So we're just going to go ahead and immediately junk my opponent's graveyard. I'm technically supposed to do that post-combat because of crazy things like Snuff Out that my opponent could be playing. But I don't think that matters too much, realistically. This is nerve-wracking. Don't necessarily feel like I'm on the right side of everything here. Fury. That's fine. Like, it's very good, but it's not the end of the world for me. I believe in Hex Drinker. I don't like super believe in Hex Drinker, but I think one of my better lines is making the save protection from everything card. So the question is, do I play another Hex Drinker out so that I play it around a Sudden Edict? My opponent has shown me one of those already. Oh, I sent it back into their deck. Awkward. So I can play this around an Edict, but then this plays very poorly into Hidetsugu. I think I am just going to level. This is a fast clock. It won't matter if I get a Paradox Zone into play. Yeah, very good. My opponent has probably spun this one to unwinnable if I miss a land drop here. That counts. That absolutely counts. All right. Carpet of Flowers. Ooh, no. Very good Force of Negation. My opponent doesn't know it, but that's very good for them. So now I need to get a protection from everything, Hex Drinker, to kind of hold the ground until I can Paradox Zone. I might not even be able to get to that point. What is this? Narset? Jace? Ruination. I don't think I can win from there. I'll go ahead and concede. Okay, now I know to play around that. That's not going to be that big of a deal. It also wouldn't have been that big of a deal if the carpet resolved. So carpet stays in. I kind of want this other land in my deck. I also kind of like all the cards that are in my deck at the same time. Like, I could trim a 1-drop because they're a little weak versus Hidetsugu. I'm going to trim a Elvish Reclaimer or 1 Wasteland to just better ensure that I hit my land drops. Nope, that hand does not work, unfortunately. This hand is bad. I will be keeping it, but I'm very not happy with this hand. Like, Wasteland Lock with Life from the Loam is not very likely to actually beat my opponent. And Hex Drinker is a better mid-game card than early-game card. But this is where I'm at. See what my opponent does. Nothing. Alright. I will send in my Hex Drinker. Alright, it got in 2 points of damage. I am going to play out an early Yavimaya. I don't want to just play a naked Life from the Loam here. Like, I don't want to show this Wasteland until I can actually take out a land with it, and it's very possible that I might never be given the opportunity to take out a land with it, since my opponent is playing things like Ruination in their deck. Strix is annoying. Hidetsugu is going to destroy me. I guess probably correct to level this up so it doesn't get lightning bolted, and then I want to play this to protect it from an Edict, but then Hidetsugu gets the 2-for-1. I don't think I really come back from that 2-for-1 right now. I also don't think I'm supposed to offer this trade. I am displeased. I'm going to begrudgingly take this line. This is like a similar thing to the Terminus situation that I ran into before, where I need to play multiple creatures for certain reasons, and I very much don't want to for other reasons. But I'm going for draw a land, get a protection from everything, Hex Drinker quickly. Like, that's my plan. That Hex Drinker as a 6/6 would be a 3-turn clock that ignores Baleful Strix. Okay, cool. This will be their red mana, and there is a Sudden Edict. Okay, so I successfully protected my Hex Drinker from that, and I didn't get a 2-for-1. All right, and I did hit my land drop. Fantastic. I think I need to ignore my black mana for now. This is very bad against another Sudden Edict, but I think this is how I win. I mean, Hidetsugu is also a thing, but here we go. 6/6 protection from everything. I can play another creature to protect it as of next turn, but I'm very vulnerable to Edict and Hidetsugu right now. If my opponent had Hidetsugu, they would have played that last turn, though, so there's that. All right, Ponder. If this finds a Sudden Edict, I am donezo. If it doesn't, I have some pretty cool lines available to me, like involving Ramunap, getting me more lands. Sudden Edict. All right, they found it. They are at 9, and I'm about to play a very scary Planeswalker. I think I play Ramunap this turn purely to set up Nissa next turn. Not attacking the graveyard is awkward if my opponent does have like a Murktide or a Snapcaster, though. I'm going to attack their graveyard. I don't have to try to end this game immediately. I'm not under any real life total pressure. Like, if I just immediately lose the game to a Murktide Regent, or like effectively lose the game to just like a very good Snapcaster Mage, I will be in a worse spot than if... Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I like what I did. TLDR. That is a wastelandable land, though I don't know that I will actually go after it. Grist. Okay, so this Ramunap becomes very important now. Go ahead and play that. Okay. I do not want to trade Endurance for Baleful Strix at this time. Do I want to Wasteland my opponent? No. I think my opponent is currently favored, not by a lot, but they are favored. Okay. That's scary. I can Life from the Loam, grab Misty, play Grist, sacrifice Endurance, kill Jace, and be in an okay spot. Oh no, they have more. Sudden Edict here is, like, very bad for me. That's fine, though. Like, it's good for them, it's value for them, but not the end of the world for me. Okay, I do need it to be black mana specifically. I will go ahead and Life from the Loam. Fetch a black source. I wish it could be basic swamp, but that's not where I'm at. This is a very, very crippling counterspell if my opponent has it. Oh, hell yeah. I will sacrifice Endurance. We'll point that at Jace. And then I hope that my Nissa can get me there in terms of closing out this game. It won't do it on its own. Aggressive iteration. Aggressive iteration. Finding Surgical. Are they going to Surgical my Loam? They are going to Surgical my Loam. That's okay. Like, the Loam has done what it's supposed to do. It's just backbreaking if, like, Ruination is the follow-up play. Before I slip this Nissa into play. But it's also just at 7. I can turn the corner pretty quickly. Alright, opponent didn't just, like, fetch immediately and slam Ruination, so that's good. Did they? Oh, sorry. For a second there, I thought they were hitting me with both. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I play out this carpet, or do I just hold this? Like, does this carpet doesn't... Carpet could eat a Force of Negation, I guess. Alright, opponent did not bite. They do get haste, right? Do get haste. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I tried to bait it with Carpet of Flowers, was not successful. Any Hex Drinker I draw at this point, though, will immediately get leveled to max. My opponent is ahead here, like, very unquestionably ahead. Force of Will is good. Let's draw Shifting Ceratops. How about that? Draw Shifting. Carpet of Flowers is not what I'm looking for. At this point, I will Wasteland my opponent. I have more than enough mana. I don't think I need to make this land drop here. Surgical on Grist. Okay. I guess now that my opponent knows about the land, I'll just play it. And then patch out a basic swamp so that I'm better playing around Ruination. Sure. With the opponent having that Force of Will in hand, I am in a lot of danger. I'm going to take 2 here. Fine, I'm at 12. And fetching doesn't take a turn off my clock. There's Dryad Arbor. I am actually going to get Dryad Arbor. I don't know that it even gets a point of damage in. I will not do that. But if it does get a single point of damage in, 5 is 1 Shifting Ceratops attack. That's very relevant. And I'll take out that land. Not that it matters too much, but it is the difference between, like, being able to do a Ponder or something and still hold up Hardcast Force of Will and not being able to do that. And I really want to draw Shifting Ceratops. Dryad Arbor means that I'm protected from an Edict as well. Just drawing Shifting Ceratops. Or, yeah, it really has to be Shifting Ceratops since it's uncounterable. Sylvan Library is not bad. Like, that's a Force of Willable card. Oh! Like, that's a lot of filtering for me in a deck that normally does not get any filtering. What are we looking at? Fury. That's scary. I'm gonna take 3, go to 6. Fury being on board means that Shifting Ceratops doesn't do it anymore. Yeah. So I'm gonna put those 2 cards on top of Library. I'm gonna make green mana. I'm gonna play a very large Tarmogoyf. It'll get Force of Will, then I'll die. Our opponent can just, like, let it sit there and just answer it with a removal spell. Sudden Edict, Sudden Edict. Damn. So there is the point where I die to this double striking Fury, and we end up a 3-2 in the league. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Like, surprisingly good. I felt pretty good in those control matchups. Like, they weren't easy games to pilot, but I had a lot of game versus control and Delver. I don't know how much of other stuff I get to beat. Like the burn matchup felt very difficult, for example. But like if you are very specifically looking for a fun brew that you can play that will have a good Delver matchup, maybe not a great Delver matchup, but like a very respectable Delver matchup, like this seems like an okay starting point. One thing that I would consider moving forward is maybe eliminating some of the utility cards in the main deck to just play more raw power. I think I sideboarded one or both of these cards out in just about every round. Like it's possible the toolboxy aspect is just fine, but the game one plan might just be just kill your opponent, right? And then like some of the toolboxy stuff can go into the sideboard. For example, you could play another Paradox Zone in the main deck, and I don't even think you'd be crazy to play a Carpet of Flowers in the main deck right now either. Like it's maybe not great, but like you've got options here. I don't think I would make any major changes going forward. The Leovold was at times good, at times bad. It's probably okay to have one mana source in the deck for it. Talking about it, like you can also play Noble Hierarch if you really want like more mana sources for Leovold, but Ignoble Hierarch makes the black mana for Grist, and that's super, super relevant. Yeah, but thumbs up on this league. Aleph, I hope you enjoyed. And the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed as well. If you did, please click the like button on your way out. It helps a lot, and I wouldn't ask you to do it if it didn't matter. And if you want to end up supporting me financially, donation deck list information, as well as things like Patreon and YouTube members, are also available in the video description. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.